Here are some key points to remember when using an elevated work platform or EWP to minimise the risk of injury to yourself and others. There are a variety of different EWPs that can assist in working at heights. They all have their own benefits, but in most cases there is one that will best suit your job. Whichever you choose, it will have its own unique setup and procedure. It is important to review the manufacturer's manuals and procedures before operating your chosen EWP. Preparation. When preparing the job for an EWP, you need to consider the type and model you hire or buy. Here are a few questions to ask yourself. Where will you be operating the EWP? Inside or outside? What ground conditions will you be working in? Is the ground sloping? What height will you be working at? What are the weather conditions, especially the wind factor? Refer to the compliance plate on your EWP for the maximum allowable wind speeds that you can operate in. Caution: it's very important that when you're considering your surroundings, you look out for overhead power lines and any other factors that may infringe on your work. Refer to the clearance requirements for non-insulated EWPs near power lines. The person operating an elevated work platform may need training, instruction or supervision to ensure they can operate the plant safely. Before operating and after start checks. Before operating an EWP, it's important to do a pre-start check. The first thing to do is the walk-around inspection, checking for any noticeable visual issues. If the EWP is fuel-powered, you'll need to check the engine. Secondly, review the logbook on the machine to see that the maintenance is up to date and whether there are any entries of faults that have been rectified. Finally, before use, do an after startup check. Run through all the controls on the machine, operating them to their fullest extent. This inspection should always be made from the controls at ground level. The testing of all emergency controls is vitally important at this point. Fill out the logbook, communicating clearly so that when the next operator inspects the EWP, there is a good record of its condition. Next, consider the PPE that you'll need for the job at hand. The standard PPE required for operating an EWP is as follows: a fall arrest harness, excluding scissor lift unless specified otherwise by site-specific requirements. Any other PPE that is required will be determined by the job specifics. Operating considerations. It's important to set up an exclusion zone with barriers and signage where possible. The Safe Working Load, SWL, must also be maintained throughout the use of the EWP. As you are working, it is good practice to constantly monitor the ground conditions, surrounding hazards and overhead hazards. In some cases, conditions and potential hazards could arise as you are carrying out your work. Voids and penetrations. Further potential hazards when considering ground conditions are voids or penetrations in concrete slabs or the working deck. If an EWP rolls over a void or penetration, it can cause the EWP to tip over. This might lead to a serious injury or worse. Before using the EWP, ensure that voids and penetrations are identified and controlled by either isolating them, filling them in, or covering them securely to create an even surface. After the works have been completed, maintain your awareness of what's around you as you lower yourself to a safe height for dismounting the EWP. Ensure that any damage or incidents involving the EWP are reported and, if necessary, rectified before it is used next. By remembering each other and following these basic steps when using an EWP, we can help keep each other safe.